Friday, 14th of February, and in Europe starts the Munich Security Conference. And I'm Sofia Fedina, member of Ukrainian Parliament, here in Ukraine with my colleagues. We are demanding withdrawal from illegal sanctions from the fifth president of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko. I would like to remind that a few days ago, Volodymyr Zelenskyy signed illegal sanctions against the fifth president of Ukraine, the leader of Ukrainian opposition, Petro Poroshenko, claiming different accusations that are not the subject of the sanctions according to the sanctions law. The sanctions could be imposed on the citizen of Ukraine only in one situation, if it is terroristic activity. And we are totally sure that the army, the fight for Ukrainian language, for Ukrainian faith, the protection of Ukraine on international arena cannot be terroristic activity for Ukraine. It can be only terroristic activity for Moscow Federation. And therefore, Vladimir Putin not so long ago imposed sanctions on the fifth president of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko. 2 days ago, Volodymyr Zelenskyy did the same stuff that the dictator Putin did in his own country. And therefore, President Zelenskyy showed a sign that he is trying to transform Ukrainian state into dictatorship. And therefore, our party, European Solidarity, is blocking the work of Parliament with several demands. First of all, we demand the change of the agenda of the Verkhovna Rada of this Parliament to adopt that legislation that helps Ukraine to withstand Moscow aggression. Unfortunately, Sluha Narodu Party, the President Zelenskyy party, is blocking these initiatives. What we suggest? We suggest that, first of all, we have to prohibit the transit of the Moscow oil through the territory of Ukraine. Why? Because Moscow every year gets $7 billion through that transit, and with this money, it is financing its army to kill Ukrainian civilians and soldiers. Second, we demand that the pro-Moscow party members of parliament are withdrawn from the parliament, as the parties are prohibited. And this is a question why Sluha Narodu Party, Zelenskyy party, in every possible way protects pro-Moscow members of parliament to get involved into votings, and even having a possibility to assess the secret information. And they influence the decisions of the parliament. The third, we demand that money that are being paid as a taxes from the military salaries are being transferred directly to the military brigades, for them to have an opportunity to buy immediately everything what they need for the fight and for the protection of Ukraine. Unfortunately, this money are being used in a totally corrupted way, and unfortunately, on the front line, our soldiers are not getting everything necessary because of state bureaucracy and because of the corruption of the red tape nominated by the President Zelenskyy. And the last but not least, we demand the withdrawal and cancellation of the law that adopts the buying procedure of Moscow reactors, nuclear reactors from Bulgaria. On the one hand, it's a corrupted scheme where they want to waste 600 million euros for useless reactors. And on the other hand, this is money should have been given to the military and to buy all the necessary weapons to support our army and to fight with the Moscow Federation. Today, we would like also to send a message to all those who gathered on Munich Security Conference. First of all, what is going on in Ukraine, unfortunately, is not strengthening Ukraine, but making Ukraine a dictatorship. All the activities of Zelenskyy and his illegal actions. And we do really understand that the dictatorship will not get support in democratic countries. If we do not get support, our army will have no possibility to withstand Moscow aggression. Our civilians will not get the support from our partners, and therefore it will be very, very hard in Ukraine. If there is no strong civil society, if there is no strong army, Putin will overtake Ukraine and every European country will be next. And at this point, I would like also to ask my colleagues who work really a lot on international arena to comment on the situation and what is being done in international community that we should be aware of. What initiatives on the international arena we should stop and how we can stop that. Volodymyr Ariev, His Excellency the Ambassador, as the representative of Ukraine on international arena during being in the delegations in different international organizations.
Well, first of all, I do believe that the democratic values for the country that is striving to be a member of the European community should maintain all values and principles all Europe basing on. So, if a country goes to violate it, it doesn't matter what it is. So we have seen now what happened in Georgia. When Georgian Dream as a ruling party started to persecute opposition and to deprive opposition from activity, fraud elections, and made a lot of things that not have any common with the democratic values. So there were immediately a reaction from European community, from the Council of Europe, and there were imposed sanctions against all those people who are persecuting opposition. As more reaction proper, as less chance that country will go the way of the Russian world, autocracy or even dictatorship. So this kind of development that Ukrainian government, Ukrainian president shows now should be stopped immediately. So it had to be eliminated in its roots. So I do believe that it is very crucial, important to do next things. First of all, of course, it's to express the concerns about the situation in Ukraine and opposition. But it's important step, but not enough. The second, I think that monitoring procedure that were stopped in Council of Europe due to the full-scale Russian aggression should be renewed and restarted. Otherwise, we see a lot of backgrounds for that. It's persecution of opposition, it's a persecution of civil society, it's a violation of press freedom and from the journalists. So I do believe that this sort of developments in Ukraine should be under strong focus of such an organization like Council of Europe. And the third, all those who are persecuting opposition, who are trying to clean out the political field using martial law for a while and misusing power that given by martial law. So all those people who are persecuting journalists and anti-corruption civil activists, they have to be warned about following sanctions, or even sanctions should be imposed against those persons in governmental persons in Ukraine. They did all things that in contradiction to European values, in contradiction to democracy, in contradiction to the normal way of Ukrainian developments. So, but to conclude, I would like to say that only democratic European Ukraine, this is a basement for an effective resistance to Russian aggression that could be extended to the whole Europe. The only anti-Russia can stop Russia. But if Ukraine will look like a small Russian walled country, like a small Russia, it will be swallowed by the big one. So I think now it started to act for all responsible people in Europe. because we need, first of all, to warn President of Ukraine, Zelenskyy, and government that the unity during the war, it's a main condition for effective resistance and for effective fight. If Zelenskyy have been named by some European journalists and writers as a new Churchill, I would like to remind that Churchill unified United Kingdom in the Second World War. But Zelenskyy now behaves like an anti-Churchill, and it should be stopped.
Thank you so much, and we clearly understand that Ukraine gets all the possible support only because Ukraine is a democratic country. Ukraine gets all the possible support because of enormous strength of Ukrainian nation, because of the enormous efforts of Ukrainian soldiers who did everything in these 10 last years to stop Moscow aggression. And now I would like to ask my colleague Rostislav Pavlenko, the analytic, the person who fought for Ukraine's Thomas returning to Ukraine, and the head of the Institute of the Strategic Studies, how to comment all the situation, what we do now, and how it can influence on the international arena. What should be done now to support Ukraine?
We have a very unfortunate situation because at most body that makes decisions on security and defense, which is called actually Council for Security and Defense, headed by the President of the State, including key ministers, including also the Speaker of the House, they misused the law, they abused the law, they applied sanctions, which by law can be applicable only to foreign entities and only for terrorists who actually get into the terroristic activity. They implied the sanctions to a Ukrainian citizen, to ex-president Petro Poroshenko. This actually constitutes the violation of law. This undermines the rule of law. This undermines the standards that Ukrainian constitution implies and our obligations before the European Union apply, especially in the framework of our approximation to European Union and accession talks that are to begin. And to secure that Ukraine is on the path to democracy, to secure that Ukraine will be a fully fledged member of the European Union, we should clear this immediately. This decision should be recognized as null and void. Luckily, it also has sufficient drawbacks, not technical, but substantial drawbacks and mistakes. So these can be just nullified and then never happen again.
How can the situation influence on international arena, and what can we ask from our international partners to do to stop all this illegal stuff in Ukraine?
This is a very wrong moment to do so, meaning to have the illegal decisions. Because on the one hand, we have all the security arrangements and have the negotiations upcoming on any peace and security settings in Ukraine. And of course, we get support as a democratic state. We are fighting for our freedom. Petro Poroshenko, who was illegally accused and sanctioned, was actually at the front line delivering drones, delivering radio electronic warfare systems and other stuff. And by sanctions, by those illegal sanctions, he actually deprived of the right to do so, which is shot in the country's leg. So now those who support Ukraine should convey the message to President Zelenskyy, to all the members of his Council of Security and Defense, who actually constitute the core of his government, to stop their wrongdoing, to nullify the decision, and to create the unity government that would then run a country and provide all necessary changes, reforms in the framework of the European integration, and everything necessary for the survival of the Ukrainian state.
Thank you so much. You know, right now, my colleague Rostislav Pavlenko mentioned that we are in a very wrong moment with all this happenings in Ukraine and ruining the democracy in the country. Everyone have heard the statements of Trump. they are more than worrying. Everyone heard about negotiations directly with Putin without Ukraine, and everyone heard that the positions of Putin and Trump are not giving hope for Ukraine. And that is a moment to unite all the possible efforts to negotiate Ukraine's interest, to unite all the possible efforts to give Ukraine more weapons, more support, and more money to protect itself. Otherwise, there will be the division of the world in between who knows who, but what we see, Moscow Federation, China, and the United States, and what will be with the democratic environment, with the democratic space, what will be with the rule of law in all the security system, no one knows. So we have to stop this illegal negotiation with Putin, and we have not to give peace to Ukraine. That will not be peace. We should punish Moscow Federation and stop it from doing illegal stuff, and stop it from interference into international relations and into the countries, and stop it from the active aggression against Ukraine and other countries. And Petro Alexeyevich, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm finishing my international stream in English. I would like to ask you two questions. You just returned from the front line, and what the message would you like to give to the people who support us abroad from our armed forces? And the second question, what Ukraine needs today from international community as a support in its fight against Moscow Federation?
First of all, I was very much impressed by how deeply informed our soldiers about crisis, which was launched by sanction of Zelenskyy. Crisis in the parliament. And they said this is the this action of Zelenskyy strongly demotivate Ukrainian warriors, Ukrainian soldiers, who fighting not only for us but for the whole Europe. They said that if you do not, if Supreme Commander-in-Chief do not keep the unity, if Supreme Commander-in-Chief do not mobilize the efforts to protect the country, that means that they have no reason why to fight. And my message was, despite all of the sanctions, despite all the unconstitutional, illegal, with a selective justice attack on the opposition, and me as a leader of Ukrainian opposition, we should keep unity. But unity not around Zelenskyy. This is not possible. Unity not about the politician. Unity around the armed forces of Ukraine. To have the shoulder of our partners nearby, and to think that we still can win this war. We still can bring the peace through strength. And that message is exactly a message from our soldiers.
What we expect from from international community, what we need today for Ukraine to withstand Moscow aggression?
Solidarity and unity. I mean, among the partners. Weapons, including long-range and air defense. Sanction from the help to cut the Putin ability to finance the war and to bring him at the table of negotiation. Support of the reform, democracy and freedom in Ukraine, because our dream is to go to European Union, to be the member of European Union and NATO. And point number 5, please open for us door of NATO. Keep open for us door to European Union. That would be strong motivation to continue reform, which was launched under my presidential term by my team.
Thank you so much, and all the people who write comments, they pass a great support to you. Great thanks for all the help for the army forces of Ukraine, and we keep our fingers crossed for everything to be okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching the stream of Sofia, and thank you for the very strong message we receive now from all over the world to support Ukraine. Keep supporting. That's vital. This is not a charity for Ukraine. This is investment in your own security.
Thank you so much. And I would like to add one more thing. Petro Poroshenko always states in every international meeting on international arena, do not trust Putin. Every agreement with Putin, they are not worth even a paper on which they are signed. That was the phrase of Otto von Bismarck, but unfortunately Ukraine knows it very well throughout the last 10 years of the invasion of Moscow Federation to Ukraine. Do not trust Putin. Do everything to make Trump understand that he also cannot trust Putin. And I ask all the international community, I ask all the Ukrainians abroad and people who do care about Ukraine, spread a message that together, united, we have to support Ukraine. We have to stop Putin, not to stop war or bring peace that will not be peace at all. We have to stop Putin, we have to punish Putin, and we have to impose such a sanctions and such a punishment that they will never raise up again. Moscow Federation throughout the centuries had only one aim, to exterminate Ukraine and Ukrainians and all the people of democratic society. And now it is one of the main tasks, finally, to stop the aggressor, finally to stop the Moscow Federation, and finally to bring peace in this way through our strengths and through support Ukraine. Thank you so much for everyone who was watching, and I ask you spread, please, this stream to the different international platforms for people to understand what is going on in Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!